Welcome to the Tudor Library. I am Lady Diana Skipwith, your librarian, and in this episode I am sharing the history of the collection of 17 surviving love letters from Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn is highly significant because it's the only surviving correspondence between Henry and any of his wives, offering a unique, intimate glimpse into the king's mind. The letters themselves are a mix of French and English, with the majority written in French, likely to flatter Anne, who had been educated at the French court, since they are housed in the Vatican Library, believed to have been seized by the papacy to document the king's intent to divorce. They were translated and published long ago. Here is a summary of the key themes and translations found throughout the collection. Many of the letters are written from a place of anxiety and longing, showcasing a vulnerable side of the king. Longing and loneliness. Henry often complains about the unbearable misery, elenginess or loneliness, he feels when they are apart. Mine own sweetheart, this shall be to advertise you of the great elenginess that I find here since your departing, for I ensure you methinketh the time longer since your departing now last than I was wont to do a whole fortnight, pleading for a response. He is often anxious about Anne's silence or ambiguity, repeatedly urging her to write or appoint a time to meet, so he can know her whole mind as to the love between them. The dart of love. He famously refers to being wounded by his own passion. I have been for above a whole year stricken with the dart of love, and not yet sure whether I shall fail of finding a place in your heart and affection. Henry frames his desire in the language of courtly love, even as he navigates his political and religious crisis, known as the Great Matter, his annulment from Catherine of Aragon. Servant and master, he signs off in a submissive manner, calling himself her loyal and most assured servant, a common courtly trope that belied his true power. I and my heart put ourselves into your hands, begging you to have them suitors for your good favour. Our matter. The annulment. In later letters, the focus shifts to political urgency, showing his confidence that their goal will be achieved. Darling, these shall be only to advertise you that this bearer and his fellow be dispatched with as many things to compass our matter, and to bring it to pass as our wits could imagine or devise. Which brought to pass, as I trust, by their diligence, it shall be shortly, you and I shall have our desired end. Some letters are quite explicit, showing the king's burning physical desire, a stark contrast to his public image. Kissing her breasts. In a famous, often quoted section, he expresses his wish to be with her. Wishing myself, especially in an evening, in my sweetheart's arms, whose pretty ducky's breasts I trust shortly to kiss. Gifts. He references gifts he sends, such as a buck he killed himself, urging her to think of the hunter when she eats it. He also thanks her profusely for a gift she sent him, a diamond and a ship in which a solitary damsel is tossed about, which he interprets as a sign of her too humble submission. One letter in particular is viewed by historians as having a chilling, almost threatening undertone, reflecting his increasing impatience. Henry writes that if her coldness or distance is not by her will but by constraint, he will endure it. But if it be of your own accord, I could not do less than what I must. This is often interpreted as a subtle reminder that his devotion could turn to resentment if she continued to deny him what he wanted. In essence, the letters portray a powerful man emotionally undone by his passion, moving from the polite formalities of courtly love to a feverish and ultimately demanding obsession. So what about Anne's side of the story, you ask? That's an excellent question that goes right to the heart of Anne Boleyn's legend. While we have Henry VIII's 17 letters to Anne, none of Anne Boleyn's direct replies to Henry during their courtship, 1526 to 1533, have ever been found. They were either destroyed by Henry after her execution to erase her from memory, or perhaps they were seized by agents of the papacy, along with Henry's letters, and later lost. Therefore, historians have to infer Anne's response and strategy based on two things: Henry's letters themselves, his complaints, anxiety, and ultimate marriage proposal, contemporary accounts, and the narrative of their courtship. Here is the general consensus on Anne Boleyn's side of the story. Anne's defining response was resistance. She famously refused to become his mistress, which her sister, Mary Boleyn, had been. Refusing mistress status. Henry VIII was a powerful monarch accustomed to getting what he wanted, often taking a mistress with little resistance. Anne, however, flatly refused to sleep with him unless he married her. This is famously summed up in her alleged refusal. "Your wife I cannot be, both in respect of mine own unworthiness, and also because you have a queen already. Your mistress I will not be." The chase dynamic. This refusal flipped the power dynamic. Henry became the ardent, anxious supplicant, as his letters clearly show her strategic abstinence made her infinitely more desirable to the king, transforming a casual royal crush into a desperate, years-long pursuit for marriage. The longer she withheld, the more obsessed he became. Henry's complaints. Henry's letters often complain about her silence or the ambiguity of her messages. He repeatedly asks her to write back or tell him her whole mind. This suggests Anne was using silence and elusive communication as a powerful tool to keep him yearning and unsure, preventing him from losing interest. Gifts and interpretation. Anne did exchange gifts with Henry. In one of his letters, Henry thanks her for a gift, a jewel of a ship where a solitary damsel is tossed about, and thanks her for the too humble submission in the accompanying message. This shows Anne was careful to maintain a courtly submission while maintaining her physical distance. The marriage goal. Unlike her sister, Anne's goal was not a quick affair, but the throne. She saw the king's dilemma, his need for a legitimate male heir, and her own value as a woman who could potentially bear one. Her refusal to compromise her honesty, reputation, virginity, forced Henry to find a radical solution: the annulment of his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, influence and ideas. Anne was highly educated and a religious reformer. She used her position to influence Henry's thinking, bringing him reformist literature, which encouraged him to dismiss the Pope's authority and assume control of the Church of England, a pivotal move to facilitate their marriage. The only letter attributed to Anne Boleyn to Henry VIII that survives is a powerful and heart-wrenching plea written from her prison cell in the Tower of London in May 1536, just before her execution. In this letter, she passionately asserts her innocence, argues that she was raised from a low estate to be your queen and companion far beyond my desert or desire, and challenges Henry on his conscience. "If then thou found me worthy of such an honour, good your grace, let not any light fancy or bad counsel of mine enemies withdraw your princely favour from me, and that he, God, will not call you to a straight accompt for your unprincely and cruel usage of me at his general judgment seat, where both you and myself must shortly appear." Whether she physically penned this or dictated it to a scribe, it is widely accepted as a reflection of her voice and a final defiant act of a queen who refused to admit guilt. Be on the lookout for the letters in the next episode. Well, I'm off to get another book. See you in a little while. Go make someone smile.